Hello Pisces friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my Pisces May 2023 Astrology Horoscope Forecast. I'm calling the theme of this month for Pisces, Joy Bubbles, and I will go into all the details as to why. This is for you if Pisces is your sun sign, your moon sign, or your rising sign, or any other placement of Pisces that you're watching for. And if you are a very late degree Pisces friends, so if your birthday is around March 15th through the rest of the sign, or if you have Pisces placements that are around 23 degrees or so through the rest of the sign, then I additionally suggest that you listen to or watch my Aries report because your very late degree friends will benefit from both the Pisces and Aries readings. Here are the highlights that we're going to discuss. Another very intense month. We've got a full moon eclipse at 14 degrees of Scorpio. We've got one of my favorite aspects of the month, Venus trine Saturn. Mercury is going direct, so we're going to have, a mixed month of retrograde energies and then things sort of regulating. We've got an outer planet connection to watch out for. I'm always going to give you the positive view of anything that occurs, and also if there's something you need to know about, I'm also going to let you know that. So when outer planets get together, like they are in this configuration, there are some things to know. So we'll talk about that. Jupiter squaring Pluto. Then we've got a new moon at 25 degrees of Taurus. And we'll talk about that. We'll also get into what are the major themes of this month as far as the planetary movements and how that can affect you as a Pisces. My intention for this recording is for you to be the most equipped for the energies of this month. If you know what the energies are like, then you can plan accordingly. Similar to watching the weather before you go on a trip, so you know what to wear, whether to bring an umbrella, and during what times you might see different types of weather. This is focusing on the astrological weather so that you can be as prepared as possible, so that you can splash and play in any rain that comes with your rain boots, and then you can know what you're in for if there are some challenges. All right, so we have another month of more sweet aspects compared to salty ones. I call salty aspects the ones that could be a little bit more challenged or annoying. So we don't have very many of those this month, and we do have more sweet ones. So that's something to know about the profile of the month. We do, however, have some very intense things going on. So hopefully this layer will assist us as we deal with these other intense things. All right, so first I'm going to do a quick overview of some of the, we'll call them more superficial transits, things you'll definitely feel. Like for instance, Venus. Venus has a little bit more time in Gemini. As planets move through Gemini, it can bring up vacillation, confusion, switching back and forth, or lots of options. So you may see those themes come up in any area of your life, or some indecision. And of course, that really matches the retrograde time. May is a month where there is going to be a lot of uncertainty. There is going to be a lot of confusion. There are going to be a lot of things that were stable being tested because of that retrograde. It's not the best time to try to plan things or pull things through according to plan. And this Gemini energy sort of reiterates that, many moving pieces or many moving targets and just a little bit of back and forth. Like I said, this can apply to any area of your life, but for Pisces, this is going to highlight home and family, real estate matters. Maybe you're trying to sell a house and then you're changing your mind, or maybe you thought it was going to happen quickly and it's taking slower, or vice versa. It's just basically a lot of this back and forth and busy energy. Gemini energy is busy, busy, busy. So you'll probably be driving all over the place, doing stuff for your family, running back and forth, going to places, traveling to places that either were a home or feel like home to you. So a lot of busyness, a lot of activity, and a lot of vacillation. Now, if you have a lot of, that confusion or uncertainty, June is a much more clear month, okay? June is going to start to flow out of the eclipse intensities. We're going to get further away from the Jupiter-Pluto square, and we're going to get out of the retrograde energies there. Although we will be starting the shadow period for the Venus retrograde that's to come in July, it's a different type of retrograde energy, and June will definitely be much more clear. And if you're trying to make plans that stick, or plans to do something important, you have to follow your own intuitive flow, because we can't look at all the factors in this, in this report. But June is definitely going to be a much easier month for getting things done, doing things, planning things, and having them follow through. Okay, so, and then also on this topic of Venus relates to love and beauty and money, and even fashion and wardrobe choices and things like that. So again, a lot of back and forth here, a lot of either confusion, indecision, or experimentation. So this doesn't have to manifest as something challenging. This just can be, you're trying on a lot of options, you're experimenting, some different options are coming up with love or money. And that energy is going to be pretty strong for a lot of the month until it moves into Cancer. All right, so the next piece here, and here's one of these joy bubbles that I was talking about, is that Mars is continuing its movement through Cancer. Now, Cancer is a fellow air sign for you, so that makes the most favorable aspect in all of astrology called a trine. So Mars, wherever it is in a chart, it brings laser focus and sometimes even obsession. So you've got your 5th house of children, creativity, creative projects, being a leader, being seen, doing things that light you up, your creative passions. I like to call it the bucket list house. Also, you'll be very focused on these areas of life. Mars will make sure of that. And not only is that focus pronounced and intense and amplified, it's also in a beautiful aspect, basically speaking your language as Pisces placement, the language of emotion, the language of the heart, the language of intuition, the language of synchronicity. So you might see a lot of synchronicities come up in these areas, and there's just a lot of sweetness. So this is one of those joy bubbles that we were talking about with these beautiful aspects. Okay, so if you want some more joy bubbles, try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 placements in Taurus. If you've watched my reports in the recent months, we had a lot of energy in Aries. That energy was good for impetus for Pisces, good for putting fire under your watery pot to bring it to a boil, for better and worse. And now the energy is grounded out, and that is good news for Pisces, because there's another joy bubble. We'll make, how many did we count? 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so seven joy bubbles. Add to our friend over here with all of those Taurus placements, because this also makes a nice angle for Pisces. And this is the angle, the 60-degree angle of opportunity. Opportunities can come and be right under your nose and you don't even realize them. But if you know that they're going to abound, as they will at this time, especially for Pisces placements, then you'll be looking out for them. So I'll give you some hints as to the ways that these can manifest, but they can come in any area of life. The overriding storyline is self-sufficiency. And not only, actually, let's add another joy bubble here for Jupiter. Jupiter is going to change signs. Okay, so all of the things we're going to talk about for the short term of not only the sign of Taurus being accentuated, but also the 2nd house of Taurus being accentuated. When Jupiter is changing signs, it's getting into Taurus and will be there for a year. So not only are the things we're about to discuss in effect very strongly in May, but you're also going to have a very strong influence of of these possible joy bubbles for a whole year. Okay, so let's give a bigger joy bubble for our Jupiter friend who's going to be in Taurus, making that 60-degree angle for you, which brings opportunities in money. Okay, in the recent months, if you've been watching my reports a while, you know that there's been a strong focus for various reasons on your finances. And that was because of all of those Aries placements lighting up your 2nd house. Aries actually rules the 2nd house of Pisces for the whole house. When you're looking at a Placidus chart, depending on your placement of Pisces, you'll have some house involvement of the 2nd house, especially the later you are in the sign. But regardless of if some of this is in the 2nd house from the house perspective, the sign of Taurus is fully accentuated, and it is also lighting up your 3rd house, which we'll get to. Okay, so some possibilities for the joy bubbles for Pisces from all of this Taurus movement can have to do with your financial self-sufficiency, increases in income, purchases of material items of value to you, feeling like you're more in alignment with the natural rhythms. Think farmer, think following the moon for the planting cycle. Think, getting your feet in the ground and getting grounded. And this is a really great theme for Pisces because Taurus energy is grounding, and Pisces energy needs that. Pisces rules the feet. So if you just kind of imagine that if you are feeling like the sand is rolling out from under you because of, water coming in, emotion coming in, and your feet are sinking, this period of time, this month, and then extending through another year because of Jupiter's placement in the sign of Taurus, is going to be helping you to shore things up. And you're actually having, again, a double energy of this because Aries rules the second house for Taurus. And for the whole last year that Jupiter was in Aries, it was aspecting this second house. And now Jupiter is moving into your third house, but it's in the sign that rules your second house. So, there's just a very strong extended period of time where grounding and self-sufficiency and stability and practicality and, tangible development can be prominent for Pisces. And then the place now where all this Taurus energy is and where Jupiter is going is the third house. So this can accentuate your spoken word, your writing projects, your communication, your transportation, your mobility. There might be lots of travel. There could be anything having to do with creative projects, which you're doubling up from the fifth house. And then the third house has to do with your actual expression, talking to people, writing, drawing, any way you communicate and convey ideas. So all of that energy is being very strongly aspected for you. And then to add to that, I put another joy bubble here for the new moon in Taurus. Okay, so that's going to be on May 19th. And by the way, if you're listening on the podcast, you can see visuals. If I'm referring to visuals, you can go to my YouTube channel and then you can see the visuals for this because the audio for my videos are syndicated on all major podcast venues. So if you don't like my visuals, can't imagine why you wouldn't love my visuals, but if you don't, you can listen to it in podcast form. You can just, I'm on Spotify. It's really everywhere. Okay, so you can find that there. But in any case, May 19th, we've got, adding to this Taurus pile, a new moon in Taurus with new beginnings and, just a time to set intentions and to plant seeds for present and future growth. Again, that's making a nice angle for you all. And that's going at 25 degrees. So we'll say 20 degrees through 29 degrees. The closer to 25 degrees, the more you'll get a kiss from that new moon on the 19th. Everyone will benefit from it. So nobody's being left out. Sometimes when I drill down here to who it might affect more, I hear people post say, what about me? Well, the whole report is for you. Okay, this is just one piece that has one aspect of it that could connect more notably for people in this zone. And this zone is pretty much the late degree friends, the ones who I told you to also listen to the Aries report. So basically this is going to be like March 10th, 11th, 12th through the rest of the sign. And the closer you are to like March 15th, 16th, the more you'll get a kiss from this new moon on May 19th. Okay, so I think we've done a very good job talking about what we call, more superficial placements. It's not like it won't affect you, because it definitely will. And I explained the ways it could. But we're going to talk about some things that may have even more profound effects. And now we'll go in order on my list here. Okay, so May 5th. Oh, and by the way, so I'm going to hit the highlights of some dates here. But if you want a more detailed written version of all the notable aspects for this month, delivered to your inbox 1 month early, go to anniehelpsyou.com. Sign up for my free email newsletter. I only send a few newsletters out a month, and they're all chock full of information to help you make the most of the starry possibilities. So if you love knowing these types of dates and, getting down into the nitty-gritty here, then definitely sign up at anniehelpsyou.com. And on that same site, you can also see the interface for all of the free offerings I have, because I have written horoscopes. I have all kinds of goodies that you can get for free, and that's where you view them all. And if you want to go back to that site after you finish watching, it is also linked in the notes underneath the video or podcast. Okay, so let's talk about the eclipses. This is a big deal. If you haven't already listened to my April report, I suggest you do that because we do have a new cycle of initiation beginning with the Aries Libra eclipse cycle beginning. And I talk about how that may affect you in general and how that may affect you as a Pisces in the April report. So we're not going to go into it now. The only thing I want to say about it now is that we are still feeling the energy of that eclipse here in May. Okay, so eclipses in astronomy happen at the time they happen. Eclipses in astrology have layers and layers of cycles. And we generally feel very strongly these eclipses 4 to 6 weeks before and after they actually happen. Okay, so we're in eclipse season now. Okay, so this second eclipse on May 5th is a full moon lunar eclipse at 14 degrees of Scorpio. This is the second to last eclipse cycle or eclipse manifestation of the eclipse cycle of Taurus and Scorpio that started at the end of 2021 and goes through the end of 2023. So there are things that are in motion that became very prominent at the end of 2021, and we're in the second to last chapter here. Okay, so you'll see it's like a storyline, and things from this storyline can manifest at any time, but they tend to manifest 4 to 6 weeks before and after the actual eclipses. Okay, so later in 2023, we'll have the last ones. This has been highlighting my stuff versus our stuff. Your self-sufficiency, we've talked a lot about that with this second house from Jupiter moving through Aries, all those Aries placements having happened. Now, all this energy in Taurus, which is moving in your third house, but it's accentuating the energy of your second house because Taurus rules the second house. All of that has to do with me, my stuff, my self-sufficiency. And then the opposite here, this Scorpio energy is our stuff, shared money, inheritances, sweepstakes, lotto, winning, government money, capital money, loans, debt, credit, all of that, deep relationship stuff, intimacy, shuffling around my stuff versus our stuff, me versus we is a very strong storyline here. Now, if you want to have some context, you can think back to late 2002 through early 2005. And that was a time, 2 cycles ago that we had this eclipse. And then again in 2012, late 2012 through late 2014. Think about the kind of things that happened then. And those are the types of themes, not all of the things that happen then, because obviously this is just one small subsection of a storyline that's occurring. And I commonly have the question, wow, that time sucked. Is this time going to suck too? Not necessarily, because things that were happening then are not also happening now, right? Because there were whole different planetary profiles and aspect profiles that were happening in those years. But there were some themes with me and we and my stuff and our stuff that were getting shuffled around very strongly at that time. And you will notice that key relationships may end, key relationships may begin, key relationships may transform, and that is a major theme that's going to be coming up. What's also going to be accentuated is your 9th house. So this eclipse is actually occurring for Pisces in the 9th house. And this has to do with your belief systems, how you see the world, your religion and spiritual views. There may be something very, very consequential coming to a head with how you see the world, your perspective. Something involving travel or immigration or writing or publishing or teaching or learning, education programs. Something big is going on there, and this eclipse is going to manifest that. Now, if you want to learn more about the particular the eclipses, okay, so go to my homepage, Annie Botticelli, YouTube, scroll down on the homepage, look for the eclipse playlist, okay, and then look for eclipses in Scorpio or the 8th house, and then look for eclipses in Sagittarius or the 9th house, because the eclipse is in the sign of Scorpio, but it's highlighting the house of Sagittarius for you all. Okay, so like I said, I'm just going to breeze through a couple of aspects of note. You can go to AnnieHelpsYou.com, sign up for a free email newsletter. You can also go to AnnieBAstrology.com, Annie the letter B, astrology.com. And that is where you can sign up for my exclusive content portal, and that will give you even more information about how to navigate the energies of now and just general astrological studies. Okay, so May 12th, we've got Venus in Cancer trine Saturn in Pisces at 6 degrees. this is good and exciting for everybody, but especially water and earth signs will get special kisses from this. So that's all of you. Venus rules love and finances and money. And when it makes this beautiful aspect, these sweet potentials are likely to show up in these matters of the heart or important personal connections with people, important to you. Anything having to do with housing and home and real estate matters will also have extra chance of receiving blessings, because Cancer sees, this is Venus in Gemini now, but by the time it makes this aspect, it's going to move into Cancer. All right, so that's going to then connect in with Saturn, which is in your sign for the first time. If you didn't watch the April report, again, I talked about that. Saturn in your sign for the first time in 27 to 28 years. So you'll definitely want to check that out. But in this case, Saturn in your sign is making a beautiful aspect with Venus. And so this is, a time when intuition and synchronicity can play more of a key role because of this Piscean energy, this, water energy. And this is also a time when dreams can take on a tangible meaning that give you guidance to a wonderful outcome, or where your intuition will lead to something tangible and long-term. Also, blessings with some link to the past can show up in a very big way because all of this is happening in this web of retrograde, right? So everyone will get kisses, but those of you who are in the early degree, so this is like February born Pisces friends, you guys are going to get the bigger kisses this time, and the closer you are to 6 degrees. So that's like 0 through 11 degrees, and the closer to 6 degrees, the more you get the kiss. So that's basically all the February born, and the closer to around February 25th or so, or 26th, the more you get the kiss from that. Everybody can have the goodies, but it might be more personal for you all. Okay, so on our list, we now have Mercury retrograde. We're actually finally going direct. Okay, so let's talk about that. Mercury went retrograde April 21st. And here on May 15th, it's going direct. And then by the time we get to May 30th, that's when it's all clear. So I like to explain this like a car moving down a highway. All right. You're there, you're going full speed, you're happy, everything's flowing. And then you're like, oh crap, I got to make a U-turn. And so that process of slowing down, where you're like, oh God, I have to slow down. I have to change lanes. I have to get over here to this interface to turn around. And it gets awkward. Okay, so the first, from April 7th through April 21st, we had that kind of awkward slowing down. Then from April 21st through, the first half of the month here in May 15th, it was actually retrograde. And I always liken that to the car being awkwardly here in the middle, precarious, with cars dashing this way and then cars dashing in the opposite way. And they're just sitting there, and the traffic is so heavy, they actually can't get back into traffic, and they're just stalled out. All right. So, for the first half of May, things are going to be stalled out. So the retrograde time is going to be a time for dealing with what you basically are the spider in the web. And you're dealing with whatever comes up, meaning you wait for the food to come to you. Not going out and trying to conjure anything, not trying to force anything. You're basically staying in the moment. You're wrapping up loose ends rather than trying to do all of this new stuff, unless you're experimenting, because that's good for the retrograde too, experimenting. But you're just dealing with what comes up. You're not trying to push things out. You're clearing out clutter. You're doing research. You might have some confusion. Plans are getting changed like crazy. Plans that do ultimately work out may have gotten called into question. So this is a time where you're just going to basically just be very present. And it's really good to be present in the moment with everything at every time. But there's a specific layer of this during the retrograde time. Okay. And this is really, it's really true for pretty much all of May, but as you get from May 15th to May 30th, this is going to lighten every day, and then you'll get closer and closer to this direct side, which we'll talk about in a second. So, the first half of May is very much about last minute magic, where if you can leave yourself as unscheduled as possible, you'll have less erasing going on in your planner if you have an old school planner, or your less changes going on. And you'll be, if you make a lot of plans for this time, you're going to be on the phone or on the email canceling the plans and changing them. So you can save yourself a lot of time and energy by just not planning a bunch of stuff if you can help it. Then you also leave room for my favorite part of retrogrades, which is last minute magic, because last minute magic shows up in retrogrades. Like, hey, you want to go here? Hey, you want this opportunity to show your art at this, gallery all of a sudden? Hey, you want to go on this trip with me? You want to go to a concert? And if you're not scheduled and all whacked out from your overscheduling and then trying to change plans, you can say yes to this last minute magic. So it's exciting. All right. So you want to honor the flow and don't force anything at this time. Things you do now that you conjure might be shorter lived or turn out way differently than you think. Now, if something comes to you, because the eclipse, the eclipses often bring big things to you. It's different if something's coming to you and you have to deal with. Remember, that was the first thing I said. Like, you dealing with things that come up, you have to do that. But you will have more clarity in June. So if things do come up and you're not sure what to do with them, you can either create a temporary plan or agreement, a little bridge agreement to bridge you through until you get to the direct time where you'll have more clarity. Now, as the month goes on and the closer you get to the end of May, the more it's going to be time to prepare for your launches, your big decisions, your agreements, your investing, your moves, and if you have to move during this time, you got to do it, right? I mean, it's out of your hands. If there's something out of your hands, don't stress about it. It's come to you. If you're conjuring it, then no, it's probably going to be shorter term or much different than you think. As you get to the end of May into June, we're like doing our brand new projects, having the clarity, doing future planning, time to push and initiate. And there is this small window in June before we start to deal with the pre-retrograde Venus, the shadow period before the Venus retrograde. And I'll talk about that more in June, but if you're curious about it now, you can just search for my name, Annie Botticelli, and Venus retrograde. I have a very popular video about this. I also have a series of blogs on my site, anniehelpsyou.com, that I told you about before. So if you want to kind of get prepped about Venus retrograde, it does rule love, beauty, money, fashion, self-esteem. So it covers a lot and it's going to be long. Then you can get a leg up on that. But we don't have those energies yet as of May. But just wanted to give you a heads up. Okay, so we did the retrogrades. Mercury direct. Now, those days around May 14th might be a little bit extra haywire. It's kind of like back to our little picture. So basically May 15th through May 30th is the process of getting back into the road and then trying to catch up to speed while moving objects are coming at you. So a little bit of awkwardness from May 15th through May 30th. That's kind of the energy of Mercury as it gets up to speed. So you'll see in those 2 weeks, you're feeling things getting ready to start moving again. You see some openings coming in the traffic for you to turn around. And, then it takes till the end of the month for things to be flowing again. Okay, so now let's talk about this boom with Jupiter and Pluto. One good thing I can say about this aspect is that Jupiter in aspect to other outer planets tends to be much kinder and gentler than other outer aspects to each other. Okay, so we'll take all the goody news we can get about this, right? Pluto rules birth and death and transformation and rebirth and the phoenix rising from the ashes. And so Pluto at 0 degree, the first degree here in Aquarius, and Jupiter at the first degree. So the desire to expand and to grow and your ambitions is going to be very strong. It may involve power struggles with other people. You may overstretch yourself, and be very careful about this, especially because it's in the retrograde. So you want to this is in the days around the 17th, but you'll feel it in, the weeks before and after. Mostly all month you'll feel this. Just be careful to not agree to or put in motion things you might not be able to keep up. Okay, that's the biggest caution here. Okay, so if you think that astrology is cool and you want to learn, go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com. That's my school. You can learn how to be a professional astrologer. Look to the notes underneath the video and podcast to see all of the other links, including my books. And I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.